eyes on the price when spending. Don't regret later to find out that you have nothing for tomorrow. I'll leak ice. Number 10. You can't put your credit card payments in order. Credit cards are the most used form of payment in most countries around the world, and it has been dubbed king because it allows you to spend money even when you don't have it at hand. But the downside to this is that credit cards can bring your whole life crashing down and create a hole so deep you can't get yourself out. The thing with credit cards is that every time you swipe it, you become a borrower, which is the worst form of financial bondage. For example, if you can barely keep up with the minimum payments on your credit card balance, you will have a hard time clearing it off because every time you swipe your card, the balance increases. In the end, you find that you have paid more money in interest than the actual amount borrowed. But we know you're a smart cookie, and knowing that you can barely keep up with the minimum payments can make you stop overspending and paying exorbitant interest rates. One thing you can do to stop using your credit card is to carry cash. This means that you will not pay an extra dime for your purchase, which crashes debt. Number 9. You are using money you haven't earned. We all have, at one time or another, spent money we didn't have, and it has put many of us in pretty bad situations. But if we have learned anything from it, it's not to use the money we haven't received yet. They say don't count your chickens before they hatch, and the same case applies to spending money that is not in your hand. For example, a friend pledges to give you $500 on your birthday, so you decide to use the $500 you have put aside for groceries to splurge a little, and promise to put it back when your friend honors their promise. But when the big day comes, your friend hands you an envelope, and upon opening it, you find that they put $150 in instead of the $500 they had promised. Well, you can take a wild guess about how your birthday goes after that. This is because you know that you have to replace the $500 you spent, which was meant for groceries, and might have to borrow or use your credit card to fill in the deficit. It can cause you a lot of stress and anxiety, but it should be a great lesson to not spend money that you have not earned yet. We'll say what Will Rogers said: too many people spend money they haven't earned to buy things they don't want, to impress people that they don't like. Don't be one of those. Number 8. You don't have an emergency fund. Many of us want to live in the moment, whether it's the "you only live once" crusade or a case of FOMO, fear of missing out. We spend money left, right, and center without worrying about tomorrow. But the truth is, you should be worried about tomorrow. No one can predict the future unless you're psychic. And without a soft financial cushion to fall back on, you will be in financial trouble. For example, let's say you were cruising around town with your friend in your just back from service convertible, and on your way home, the spring coil snaps in the middle of the freeway. This means that without money, you can't call for roadside assistance unless you borrow from a friend or family, money that they will expect you to pay back. If you had an emergency fund, you wouldn't have been too worried because you have already planned for any unexpected expenses. Having an emergency fund can sort you out during those times when you need urgent help and there is no one else to come through for you. It is recommended that you have 6 months to a year's worth of expenses put away as an emergency fund, such that in the event of losing your job, getting a disability, or not being able to earn an income due to an unforeseen circumstance, you're sorted. This way, you will avoid overspending and falling into the debt labyrinth. Number 7. You're feeling emotional. Nothing is as bad as shopping on emotion because you end up spending tons of cash that you had not planned on. Emotional shopping accounts for more than $100 per purchase. If you make one emotional purchase per month, you spend $1,200 in a year. Imagine that. For example, you have failed your bar exam and are feeling emotional. After a couple of tears or an angry session with the punching bag, you still feel down and decide to hit the mall for your favorite ice cream. Once there, you find a $300 pair of sneakers you like and you purchase them on a whim. Sure, making the purchase will make you feel better, but the downside is it's not permanent. And until you face what's causing these emotions, it doesn't matter how many pairs of sneakers you buy. You will still feel like crap after the dopamine wears off. Learning this lesson will help you stay away from the mall when you feel emotional, which will save you money and a lot of financial and mental stress. Number 6. You're under pressure. It's easy to fall under pressure and do things that you normally wouldn't to get the pressure off, which, if we do say so ourselves, is the wrong approach to your finances and life in general. For example, a customer care representative is tasked with selling company products and services and will do whatever it takes to get you to cave and make a purchase, even when you had not planned for it, only to get home and realize that you bought an item you can't even use. Even your friends and family can put you under pressure to do something that costs you money, which you later regret, especially if you had to incur debt to make the purchase. We know that it can be difficult sometimes, but learning to say no to something you don't want to buy, no matter how much pressure one is putting on you, will save you a lot of money and give you financial freedom. Number 5, you haven't reviewed your budget. If you don't have a budget, we bet you spend a lot more money than you had planned to. A budget grounds our spending habits and allows us to buy the items we need. We get it. Writing a budget is boring, and you'd rather chew your fingernails off than to write one. But it can help you stop overspending, which saves you tons of cash. For example, if you need to go grocery shopping, having a budget will allow you to know how much money you need to spend on your shopping trip. If you have budgeted for $100, you can carry enough cash so that you don't feel tempted to spend more. But without a budget, you find that you've carried $200 and have spent all of it on things you needed, and those that you thought you needed but didn't. This makes you adopt poor money management skills, which prevents you from attaining financial freedom. If you learn to create a budget and stick with it, you'll spend your money wisely and save a ton. There's nothing as bad as having things in your house that you're not using. It makes you look at them and feel some type of way for wasting all that money, doesn't it? To save your money and attain financial freedom, learn to budget and review it before every shopping trip to see what you can get rid of. You'll have so much money left, you'll wonder why you hadn't adopted the budget strategy before. Number 4, you're trying to prove a point. We know that it feels like a small win when you prove a point to someone that's treating you unkindly. But the question is it worth your financial freedom? We don't think so. You can prove your point without breaking your bank account or falling into debt. Let's look at this scenario. You go to the clothing store, and the minute you walk through those sliding doors, no one is bothered to greet or welcome you. Why? They're fussing over another client that seems to have more money than you do. And they know that that client will spend $2,000 in that store. After all, you've just gone there to buy a dinner dress, right? You try to call an assistant, but no one is even glancing your way, and you think, you know what? I'm going to teach these ignorant girls a lesson. Then go ahead and fill your shopping cart with clothes, underwear, shoes, neck scarves, and a whole lot of other stuff you weren't planning to buy. You've caught their attention for sure because a sales associate comes running to serve you, pretending to be your best friend. You've proved your point all right, but at what cost? Learning to not prove a point can save you a lot of headaches and money. If someone doesn't want to assist you, don't fill the shopping cart to prove them wrong. Simply walk out of the store and go to the one that treats you kindly. They don't deserve your money anyways. Don't you agree? Number 3, you have a discomfort. Have you ever worn an ill-fitting pair of pants or shoes? We bet you had a terrible day and couldn't wait to get home and get rid of them, right? Imagine spending money on an item only to keep it at the back of your closet and never use it again. It makes you want to grit your teeth whenever you see that item lying idly in your closet, doesn't it? Many of us put the brand name first before our comfort and end up with things we wouldn't normally buy. For example, you want to be the proud owner of some Manolo shoes, and we all know the Manolo's price tag is nothing to play around with. Like people say, there are shoes and there are Manolos. You can spend up to $14,000 on a pair of Manolo shoes. $14,000 in other countries can only fit in the back of a pickup truck. Spending money on uncomfortable things just so you can be a proud owner of a brand name item is one lesson that when you learn, you will never overspend money again. You should try to emulate the billionaires who wear $90 shoes as long as they're comfortable. You will save money and mental distress. Number 2, you're trying to please others. Living your life trying to please others can cause you to have a miserable existence. This is because you will never do anything to please yourself and are always thinking of what other people might say. So you go out of your way to make them happy even when you are crumbling financially, socially, mentally, and physically. For example, your family and friends keep telling you that the house you're living in doesn't suit you, but you don't see anything wrong with it. The rent is fair, the neighborhood is relatively safe, it's closer to your work, and you honestly just love the serenity of your neighborhood. But your friends think it's too cheap for someone of your level and don't want to come and visit. And because you want them to, you go house hunting and find a house close to your friends and family that costs twice as much, is farther from your work, and the street is always noisy, which is the opposite of what you were looking for. But you go for it anyway. You spend more money than you wanted, which eats into your savings, and you become miserable. To enjoy peace of mind, live in comfort, and save a ton of money. Don't do things to please others if they don't please you first. Your priority should be yourself, and everybody else comes second. If they can't conform, ask them to hit the road. You'll be happier, more peaceful, and have more money in your bank account. Tell us those aren't things you would want. We know we would. Before we get into number 1, make sure to check out the links in the description for our best recommendations to boost your savings. Number 1, you don't need it. We know you have some items in your house that you bought, which you don't need, and are now cluttering your space. This is one way of overspending because your money is gone from your pocket and can't come back. And to make matters worse, you don't use the item you spent all that money on. For example, you go shopping online and a nice $100 watch catches your eye, so you go ahead and buy it. But you have another watch that is working just fine, which is what you wear every day. But now you have 2 watches, and unless you can wear one watch on each hand, which would honestly make you look like a crazy person, you didn't need to spend $100 on a second watch. Buying things you don't need not only wastes your money but also creates clutter, which makes your house look full and unbreathable. To save your money and have a spacious house, make sure to avoid buying things you don't need. Instead, transfer that money to your savings account and watch it give you some tidy returns. Make sure to check out the next video. You're going to get a ton of value from this one. See you there.